Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, I'm going to try out something new called Freestyle Friday. This is where I go completely without a script and just kind of riff on something. And the thing I want to riff on today, the thing we're going to talk about today, is Bo Katan. Now, this is going to be a Star Wars video clearly, and I'm going to touch on some stuff from Rebels, some stuff from the Clone Wars, but mainly from the Mandalorian. Mainly, there were a couple different questions that popped up in the Mandalorian season finale about Bo Katan and why this or that thing happened. First off, there's the question of why didn't Bo Katan take the Darksaber? And that's the most obvious question. Bo Katan had previously taken the Darksaber from Sabine in Rebels. Why didn't she just accept it as a gift from Mando in The Mandalorian? And I think that ties into a lot of other questions I had. First off, when we first see her in The Mandalorian, she only has 2 other Mandalorians with her, even though she's planning on assaulting a fully defended Imperial cargo ship. Now, it is just a cargo ship, granted, and these are expert Mandalorians, but there was 20, 30-odd stormtroopers on that ship, and they weren't all necessarily idiots. And she needed at that time to recruit Din Djarin. So what can we tell from this? First off, Bo Katan is operating under conditions of scarcity. Whatever rebellious faction she's leading to retake Mandalore, she does not have a lot of support and resources. She can only field 3 Mandalorians, including herself, to retake that cargo ship. Now, the next time we see her, she's only got 1 Mandalorian with her. Now, Mando and Boba Fett walk up to them in the bar. Now, I want you to think really hard about Bo Katan's body language in that picture. She and her fellow Night Owl, so this is basically a member of her clan, the kind of person that wouldn't desert her no matter how bad her fortunes were the only ones in there. And they were skulking in a back table, hunched over their drinks. If you just saw a straight-up picture of 2 people sitting at a table like that, I would say that that was 2 people who were sulking over something. Sulking over what? Possibly abandonment or betrayal. Look at it this way. If you saw 2 characters glaring at their drinks like that, it would be possible that they had been dumped either platonically or romantically. Given that this is a wartime scenario, I do not think it's impossible to think that this was an extremely low point in Bo Katan's life. She's being sent out on snatch and grab missions, which she might voluntarily do because she does seem to be a hands-on kind of leader. But capturing a cargo ship for the cause, that seems like a lower tier kind of job. I think that Bo Katan may have fallen very, very far from the leader she was trying to make herself to be. Now, this kind of gets back to why she didn't accept the Darksaber from Mando. Last time she had the Darksaber, when she went to lead the planet of Mandalore, she had accepted it as a gift from Sabine. And Sabine, in turn, had basically just found it on the floor of Darth Maul's cave in Rebels. And so Sabine wasn't really the rightful holder of it. And remember, by tradition, you have to claim the Darksaber in combat. Now, look back at the scene in Rebels where Sabine takes the Darksaber and shows it to her mother. Her mother, who is also a warrior, a dedicated Mandalorian if ever there was one, and her mother scoffs. Her mother says, it's just a symbol. The Darksaber doesn't mean anything in this day and age. I mean, think about it. What would happen if a guy showed up in England with the 100% factually guaranteed Excalibur? It's a legend. It has a lot of symbolic power. It would draw a huge crowd to the museum, but it's not going to mean squat in today's English government. Now, the Mandalorian people are no longer a set government that can just ignore their traditions. They're a remnant, a rebel faction, and into rebel factions like that, these symbols have a lot more power. But Bo Katan has already lost it once, and as far as the rest of the world is concerned, Mandalore has been glassed. So even if that's not true, it's been under Imperial control and has been an asset of this empire this entire time. So when Bo Katan accepted the Darksaber as a gift from Sabine Wren, things went downhill fast and bad. So Bo Katan might simply not be wanting to make the same mistake that she made before. She may see, even though Din Djarin did actually win the Darksaber in more than fair combat, because Moff Gideon got the drop on him with an act of treachery. Even though Din Djarin would be the acceptable ruler, because Bo Katan did not win it back herself, it wouldn't have even that symbolic power for her. Maybe she's been kicked out of the Mandalorian. It wouldn't be a covert, because she doesn't belong to one of the so-called cults. But from how we found her in this episode, skulking at that bar, seeming to have been rejected, because, skulking at a bar over a drink is a sign of rejection. I think Bo Katan is on the outs with the vast majority of Mandalorians. They might accept resources from her because they're desperate, but I don't think she has any more political power. I think she was banking on reclaiming the Darksaber in rightful combat to reestablish her political power. And she might not have been able to do that even with that, but she definitely wouldn't be able to do it accepting it as a gift from Din Djarin. Now, that kind of answers the question as to why she wouldn't accept the Darksaber as a gift from Din Djarin. Another question was, why did Moff Gideon try to shoot her in the armor when Luke Skywalker showed up and he knew his plans were thwarted? Well, first off, he saw a Jedi Master showing up and he knew his plans were thwarted. So it made sense that he's going to make a desperate Hail Mary move. But I don't think he was necessarily trying to kill her with that shot. He knows Mandalorian army too well. I think he was aiming for her jetpack. I mean, Din Djarin's jetpack, the shiny new one that was just recently forged, is effectively another piece of armor. A blaster shot's not gonna hurt it. But we've seen that even a physical blow can send Boba Fett's jetpack off and blaring. And remember, Bo Katan's armor has been in her family for generations. Presumably so has her jetpack. Like Boba Fett's, it's a much older jetpack, which might be prone to malfunctioning if you hit it right. So I think that was Moff Gideon's Hail Mary pass to try and trigger Bo Katan's jetpack and maybe, I don't know, smoosh her against the wall or cause chaos that would allow him to off himself. So those are kind of my questions to what was going on with Bo Katan. I think she has a whole lot less political power than we've been assuming. I think she's basically an outcast with even less political oomph than Din Djarin himself would have. Because at least Din Djarin is in a situation mostly where he wants to be. Then, I think the reason that Moff Gideon shot at her was in a desperate attempt to trigger her jetpack, which didn't work. And one more thing. Why was Bo Katan so viciously disdainful of Boba Fett? Now, here's something interesting that I think speaks to her character on a larger scale. Remember, Bo Katan was not necessarily always one of the good guys. In fact, I think she tried to kill Satine for a couple different times. The Duchess of Mandalore, she was in on that plot. So, she's a very cagey, very pragmatic person, and she belonged to Death Watch. Now, Din Djarin's cult was called Children of the Death Watch. Now, you'll notice that Bo Katan was the first one to loudly and openly renounce Din Djarin's covert as a cult, even though we saw him be rescued by Death Watch in his flashbacks. So we know that the Children of the Watch, it's not just a name crossover. The Children of the Watch are related to Death Watch, which means the Children of the Watch are directly related to Bo Katan. Now, but she was highly disdainful when she spoke about them. Now, it could be that her views have changed as she's grown and matured and formed the Night Owls, but it could be that Bo Katan used the religious zealousness of the Children of the Watch, and she has to loudly disown them because she was associated with them. Meanwhile, and I think she felt the same need to loudly disown Boba Fett because she too was so associated with the clones. I think because she might be on the political outs, and people might be accusing her of not being a true Mandalorian. And what is the natural human reaction to do if someone accuses you of something? Accuse someone else of that thing to turn the attention away from you. So I think Bo Katan, because she has worked with the Empire, she's worked with Darth Maul, she's worked with the clones, she's worked with Death Watch, she's worked with all of these unsavory elements, And she's in a position where she may not have any political power left, so she's having to publicly distance herself from all these undesirable elements, like the clones, as represented by Boba Fett, or like Death Watch, as represented by Din Djarin, and more specifically, the Children of the Watch, as represented by Din Djarin. And I think that might tie back into why she did not want to accept the Darksaber from Din Djarin specifically, in addition to the fact that she didn't want to accept it as a gift again, because that worked out so well for her the last time she did that. She's trying to distance herself from the more extremist elements of the covert that she was a part of. Because remember, she was a part of Death Watch. And I think she doesn't want to be so indebted to literally the last child of the Watch that we know of. So, those are my thoughts on Bo Katan and some of the weirdness that went into her character over this past season. So, what do you think? Didn't Bo Katan have something to do with the formation of the Children of the Watch? Did Moff Gideon try to hit her jetpack hoping it would malfunction like Boba's did? Alright. Peace out, my wonderful viewers, and that is the end of my first Freestyle Friday. Let me know what you think about this. I've been working up to talking without a script because I really depend on a script to avoid stuttering and mumbling and forgetting what I was going to say. But let me know what you think in the comments. Peace out, my wonderful viewers.